Hello everybody, welcome back once again to the vidIQ live stream here on a Tuesday. It's the 10th of July and we're going to be switching things up a little bit this time. We're looking specifically at one thing on your channel. It's going to be thumbnails. Let's do this.
vidIQ.
vidIQ.
vidIQ.com.
Welcome back everybody to vidIQ. If this is your first time here, do say hello in the live stream chat. Let us know where you are talking to us from today. My name is Rob. If this is your first time here at vidIQ, we're the YouTube tool and channel that aims to help you get more views in less time. The predominant way we do this is through the vidIQ tool set that we have, a fantastic range of tools to help you get more views. 60% of it is free. There's a link in the description below. But what we're actually doing today is a really interactive process where we're going to help you improve your channel, and specifically we're looking at thumbnails today. So usually we look at your channel as a whole, but today it's all about thumbnails, and I'm relieved to be joined at last by an expert in the field and guest. His name is Jeremy Vest, Senior Evangelist here at vidIQ. Jeremy, welcome to this madhouse that is the Channel Audits live stream on a Tuesday. Just introduce yourself and tell us more about who you are.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rob. Well, my name's Jeremy. I've been doing the YouTube game for about a decade now. I'm old. And I've worked with hundreds of YouTubers and brands, and my customers have billions of organic views. So I've been doing this a long time, and thumbnails are my most favorite thing on YouTube. I'm so excited about this.
Did you hear the spark of enthusiasm we got there from Jeremy when we mentioned thumbnails? So yeah, to just run down the show here that we're going to be doing today, we're going to be talking to all of you as a group here for the first 10 to 15 minutes, a presentation on the 10, see if I can get my hands in the camera shot here, 10 best ways to improve your thumbnails right now. And then once we've given you some advice, we're going to practice what we preach, and we're going to go into your channels and give you some direct advice on the different thumbnails that we are looking at. So Jeremy, it's over to you now. We're going to be presenting on your screen, and if you can guide us through all the fantastic advice you have for us, let's do this.
All right. So the first thing I want everyone to remember is for most channels we audit, the suggested videos on the right-hand side are actually the #1 source of organic traffic for most channels we see. So it's really important to have great thumbnails if that's your biggest source of traffic. Now, one thing I want to start at, and I always start at this, is eyeballs. Eyeballs are the window to the soul, and subconsciously, it's what connects your viewers to you or whoever is on your YouTube channel. So even in anime here, I help do this strategy for Funimation, and these, hundreds of millions of views later, we've learned that eyeballs even work in animals, in anime, and things that are not actual humans. So eyeballs are really important. You obviously don't have to have the face this close, but emotion is just as important. A lot of people call this the YouTuber face. You see all these thumbnails where people are all excited or scared or shocked. Bringing emotion into your thumbnail is a good way to make sure someone has a reason to click on it. If it's just vanilla, boring thumbnails, people probably aren't going to click on it. And your job. Go ahead.
What sort of emotion do you think is being told in this thumbnail itself, and what story? I don't know anything about Attack on Titan, but I can see this person might be terrified of something. But yeah, what's the emotion behind this particular thumbnail?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, when I made this thumbnail, he's about to get eaten by a giant.
Sounds typical.
Yeah. So your job as a creator is not just to have good thumbnails, but to actually have thumbnails that stand out from your competitors on the right-hand side. Now, your competitors aren't necessarily channels you're competing against. It could be videos that people watched or channels people watched earlier. It could be all kinds of things. So I would try to figure out a way to stand out from the crowd, especially your competitors. And that's really, really important. So don't forget that it's not just enough to have exciting and eyes and emotion. and have these phenomenal thumbnails, but you also have to stand out from the thumbnails next to you. One of the ways I like to do this is I personally like to use, as I affectionately call, rainbow vomit backgrounds, having really, really colorful backgrounds so that, for example, in my space, Tim, Roberto, Daryl, Sean Canal, vidIQ do not have purple backgrounds. So the reason I went with purple on mine is I was standing out. Like as Seth Godin says, be the purple cow. So I took that literally and I made my thumbnails purple. I personally don't like the color purple, but it was a way for me to stand out from my competitors.
So a good challenging question to our audience here would be, how do you become the purple cow, the fluorescent yellow cow, the indigo blue cow in your particular genre? Think about what your competitors are doing and try to stand out in a consistent way versus them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of our commenters said, and with eyeglasses, there's no eyes. That's very true. You caught me there. Another thing is make sure that you actually have exciting thumbnails. When's the last time you clicked on something that was super boring? Maybe when you had to learn something, but if you're actually being entertained or just volunteeringly watching YouTube, you probably need emotion and eyes and color are probably not enough. Try to find a good storytelling, exciting way to display your thumbnails. One of the biggest reasons I've helped brands and YouTubers get billions of views in the last 10 years is consistent patterns on thumbnails. Now, a pattern can be a shape, a logo, a color, a background color. It can be anything, but essentially here's the concept. Let's say you have 100 videos live, and every time you show up on the right-hand side, you could show up twice or 6 times, depending on the video. So when you're showing up 3, 4, 5 times on the right-hand side, imagine if there was a consistency in topography and color and backgrounds so that it looked like it was part of the official YouTube channel that you have. A lot of channels, I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is every thumbnail looks completely different from another thumbnail. So you never know what that channel is supposed to look like visually. If this is your largest source of organic traffic, like a lot of channels it is, then I challenge you to find a consistent pattern. It doesn't have to be a logo. It doesn't have to be a color. It doesn't have to be a shape, but find a consistent way to put out your thumbnails.
And just one thought on completely the opposite side, there are some channels which have thumbnails which are all exactly the same and tell no distinctive story for each video and may trick the viewer into thinking that they've already watched the video because the thumbnail is identical. So when we talk about patterns, we're not talking about complete repetition, are we? It's like similar themes, styles, but each video telling its own individual story.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking more about topography, the color schemes, things like maybe a logo, things like that. I'm not talking about the actual content of the video or the storytelling elements to visually show what the video is about. I'm just talking about like the background, logo, colors, topography. One of my favorite YouTubers, shout out to Tim Schmoyer. This guy is amazing at what he does. And to me, having a thumbnail without text is kind of like a perfect storm. And what it tells me is if someone at this level, congratulations on hitting 400,000 subscribers yesterday, Tim. Someone at this level not using text, that tells me that it's working quite well. And the reason I know that is because he's a nerd like us, and I know he tests a lot. So why in the world is he not using text? Well, it's pretty easy, right? It's almost like a comic strip. He's visually telling the story. He has the YouTuber face, the surprise look. He has a bag and a camera. So I'm guessing, I'm not a super educated man, but I'm guessing that he's talking about what's in his camera bag. So if you can tell a story that amazing, you may not even have to use text.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge to all of you who are designing thumbnails. Design a thumbnail, and then without the title, see if you can either show it to a friend, share it on social media and say, what do you think the title of this thumbnail is? And see if it tells a strong enough story without any words.
Exactly. And a lot of people have this debate. Should I use text? Should I not? If you have a good enough story to tell, I don't think you have to use text, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Another thing I recommend everyone does is actually saturate your colors about 30 or 40% more than normal, because what happens when you scale down an image to about 10% of its original size is that the colors are going to be muddy. So to stand out on the suggested video views on the right-hand side, you have to pop. Your colors have to pop. So whether you're using Canva or Photoshop or GIMP or whatever you're using, use your YouTuber and YouTube how to make my colors more saturated in Canva or Photoshop or whatever program you're using. Same thing with sharpening an image. So make sure you over sharpen your image so that when it scales down, again, it's not blurry, it's crisper than your competitors.
And I think this emphasizes as well, Jeremy, that you don't just have to be a video editor and know how to use like Adobe Premiere, Camtasia, any of those programs. You have to have some skills in picture and photo editing and spend time with a decent photo editing program and spend time on a thumbnail, whether it be 30 to 60 minutes. Adding these different little elements really does make the thumbnail pop, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it's, you don't have to be great. You just have to be good enough, right?
Or aware of the fact that you do need to work on your thumbnails as well, and it's a craft in itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One idea I have, if you're actually making a project or a DIY or an how-to video, if there's a final look or a final product that you're making in Photoshop or whatever you're doing on your channel, show the after and the before when you can in a thumbnail. And what this does is this pre-selects people that if they don't like that particular hairstyle, for example, they'll move on to another video, and people that self-select that particular hairstyle will probably have higher watch time. As we know, watch time is one of the most important aspects of having your YouTube channel. So try to show the after if you're doing that type of video. I think it's really important.
Are there any examples of situations where you shouldn't show the payoff? Like it might be more of a tease video and there needs to be something where it's half telling the story. I assume in how-tos and educational videos, the payoff is usually worth putting in the thumbnail because you want to see what you're getting before you go into the video. But I guess there are storytelling elements where maybe half of the payoff is required.
Yeah, I mean, for example, like a unboxing video or a surprise challenge video or the best Nerf gun in the world video. There's a lot of reasons you would actually want to tease the opposite. You can't, you know, have a big mystery box type thing and a question mark. And there's probably a lot of times where the payoff needs to be in the video.
Yeah,
and that's equally just as important of a point. Sometimes you want that mystery to give someone a reason to click as well.
Hey, now, familiar face there.
I had to put the star of the show in my presentation. So when you're designing, one thing I would say is design small. So go to about 10 or 20% of the size of your actual file in Canva, Photoshop, or GIMP, and see what the design looks like tiny, especially text. Most of us do text really, really, really bad on thumbnails because for some reason, I guess because we're designing so large, we just write like a paragraph and no one can read that when it's really tiny. So my moral of this summary is design very small so that you can win big.
And one more thing I would say here, Jeremy's kind of been my mentor for thumbnails over the last 3 or 4 months. So if you have time, go to the vidIQ channel itself and scroll down maybe 20 or 30 videos and just see the evolution of how these thumbnails have changed over the last 2 or 3 months, where I've used essentially these 10 tips that Jeremy's been suggesting, and hopefully you will agree that the thumbnails on our channel have improved. So of course, as a YouTube channel ourselves, we are always trying to improve ourselves.
Absolutely. And the last point before we get into these audits is make sure you look at the results. In the new studio beta, you can actually go in and see your impressions to views. Now, a lot of the people in our industry have this wrong. And I'm just going to be honest. It's something that's really weird to us, but a lot of people are just preaching you have to get your click-through rates up. But what if you got a lot of watch time on a video and then YouTube sends this video to 1 million or 2 million more impressions than you normally get outside of your normal audience? Rob, what happens to your impressions to views ratio?
The click-through rate can go down, but as you say, as impressions and views go up, that's a good thing.
So don't get too caught up on this. My suggestion would be try to make your click-through rates go higher. You know, every time you're making a thumbnail, try to make it go higher. However, if YouTube's really pushing your content hard and you're getting a lot of suggested and a lot of different results than you normally get and a lot more impressions, just know this is going to go down from your non-typical audience.
Yeah. And I've said in a video before, what would you prefer? YouTube share your content with your core audience and you get 100% click-through rate, or YouTube share your content with 1 million people and you get 1% click-through rate? The results obviously there speaks for themselves if you have third grade maths, I guess. Fantastic number of suggestions there, Jeremy. Shall we just quickly go back to number 1, and let's just do like a quick recap of these if we can. Sorry, I've caught you there a little bit with
no
screen
problem.
sharing, but yeah, if we just sort of quickly go through the 10 again, just so that you remember all of them. So number 1 would be an emotion.
Eyes and emotion.
Yep.
And then number 2 is have a colorful background when possible, when it makes sense. Make sure your thumbnails are super exciting so that you actually give someone a real reason to click. Have a consistent pattern so that when you show up 3 or 4 times on the right-hand side, it becomes like the Matrix and you just pop out visually from the crowd. Make sure you try to tell stories like a comic strip with your thumbnails so that people don't even have to read. They just know what your video is about. Oversaturate and over sharpen your images so that when they're scaled down really small, they pop more than your competitors. If you can, show the final result if you're doing a DIY or a how-to video, or if you're doing some type of surprise or unboxing video, do the opposite. Create this intrigue and a reason to click around the surprise and what's about to happen. Make sure that you're designing small and your text is big. And always use data to actually see how you're doing.
And I'm going to give everybody just one more bonus tip here on specifically checking your data. On screen now you can see the impressions funnel that's now new to the Beta Studio. If you click on the overview section and then top videos, this will actually granulate your click-through rate and impressions. So you can now see that your impressions and click-through rate for each individual video is listed there. And this is something we discovered as we were playing more with the Beta Studio. So to be able to see which thumbnails specifically have a higher click-through rate, obviously, as Jeremy said, that we need to take this into context of how popular your video is and whether it drops. But you will start to have like an average of where you think your click-through rate is. People are asking in the chat, what is a good click-through rate? And YouTube suggests it's between 2 and 10%, but it varies greatly between channels. I think the benchmark should be whatever your general click-through rate is, whether it be 2, 3, 4%. When you think about how to improve your thumbnails, see if you're upping your general click-through rate on average videos. But as we've said, there's a lot of variations there which can change the click-through rate on particular videos. So that there is your introduction to the best tips for thumbnails. So thank you very much for your help there, Jeremy. Really much appreciated. And what we are going to do right now is start to audit your own channel. So in the background here, I'm just clicking a few buttons. You can see me on screen right now, but hopefully any second we're going to be seeing, both for Jeremy and my benefit and your benefit, channels that are in this live stream right now, and Doberman has just sent me a whole raft of channels to look at, which is awesome. But what we wanted to do here is say a huge thank you to the Doberman himself for all the awesome work he does here on moderating the chat, and we're actually going to now do a bit of a thumbnail channel review on his content and see what Jeremy thinks to his channel, all about Doberman dogs, of course. And this channel has been blowing up over the last couple of months, and great work with Doberman here with his thumbnails. So Jeremy, are there any general thoughts you would give us about how powerful these thumbnails are?
Yeah, I'll say the ones where there's personality, like Living with the Doberman Part 1 and why socialization during puppyhood is so important. When you get to really experience the expressions of a dog, I think those thumbnails are going to do better. I think in general, the text is a little too small.
Okay.
I would love, like, for example, with I have a question for you, I would love to see that text about 30% bigger. But you do a phenomenal job in showing the dog's face and, you know, having the eyes. Eyes are even important in a dog, right? So having people be able to emotionally connect with a cute dog or a tough dog, I think all in all, these are some of the best dog thumbnails I've ever seen. Good job.
I think even though sometimes the text is maybe a little too small, I like the idea of the text being a question, and it creates intrigue for the potential viewer. Like this one here, I have a question for you, with a dog in this heroic pose. If I was a dog lover, I would certainly be thinking about clicking into that particular one. Any thoughts on like pattern and consistency? We can see that there's a logo here in the top left hand corner with a dog icon, and there seems to be, I would say, a general theme of perhaps green. The dog's always outside on a lot of occasions, so there's a certain elements of
idea I have is, sorry to interrupt you there. One idea I have is, on the logo on the top left-hand side, there's a black border.
Yep.
What if you just remove that stroke from the black border just on the white triangle, so that it looked like in YouTube the actual icons were cut off 45 degrees?
Right, interesting. So we're going to need to real fine details here of how we can touch up the logo.
Just be interesting visually if people are like, oh, those thumbnails are cut off at 45-degree angle and it looks natural. Now, it wouldn't work in the black, theme but who knows? That might be a cool, like, visual way to pop out from your neighbors and suggest it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Doberman, for all the help you do here moderating, and thanks, Jeremy, for the first suggestion. We've got lots of channels coming in now, and if you are enjoying this live stream, do make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more of these live streams in the future. And this is a new format, so do let us know if you're enjoying this different style that we're giving you as much information as we can, front loading the tips and tricks, and then going very specific on channels. The next channel we're going to look at here is at the speed of life. So speed cleaning mom life, good channel banner. I think one thing we haven't mentioned yet is how the branding should be reflected in both the thumbnails and the channel banner, and this seems really strong here. What are your initial thoughts on the thumbnails, Jeremy, for this channel, which has 25,000 subscribers? Nice. Honestly, I think they're amazing.
Yeah. And I can't stress that enough about the banner. I think a banner should have the same look and feel. I also think it should tell what your channel is about and why. So her channel is quickly, I know for a fact that it's about speed cleaning for moms.
Yeah.
So I think she does a phenomenal job in explaining the what and why of her channel exists. And from a subconscious perspective, someone's going to give you a few seconds. So if I'm a mom and I need to learn how to clean faster because my kids are crazy, I probably will understand this dilemma and be able to connect or not with her quickly. So I love that. The thumbnails themselves, she has the YouTuber emotional expressions and excitement faces. My favorite one is the top left one here. like disgust.
Yeah.
It's great, right? Because you're cleaning. This is human stuff. Cleaning sucks, right? So let's make sure that when you're doing cleaning thumbnails, you really express the emotion of cleaning. Now, I think this is definitely some phenomenal thumbnails. I think the color palette appeals to women. If you look at a lot of very famous women and mom channels, these colors, the kind of almost pastels and whites and elegance, are very popular right now. I think it's very clean. Sometimes, again, the text is too small, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But gross part 2, I can read. I just can't read what's underneath that. But I think she's done a great job. The only criticism I would say, which is not a criticism, is just more of a tiny improvement, is saturate those colors about 20 or 30% and try to sharpen those images about 20 or 30%.
Yeah, the 2 thumbnails that were contrasted for me here was the one here of the 4th of July, where it's very clear and it really well reflects the topic that you're covering. And then the one to the right was a little more busy. We've got, it looks like a receipt there, and some food at the top and bottom here, which I can't really distinguish. And then she's maybe looking into a trolley bag, but I think the story is a lot stronger in the 4th of July one versus the grocery one. So maybe picking one of these pictures, probably the receipt, might tell a better story in a thumbnail of this size.
Yeah, and some of the, just like the winners, like kids' room, speed cleaning routine, and dinner prep recipe. Some of these are clear winners because the eyes are really big.
Yeah.
The expressions are amazing. It's just on point. Like sometimes you can just look at stuff and know that these are winners. Yeah. And in this case, those definitely are.
So for At the Speed of Life, I think you're like 80-90% of the way there, and just some small tweaks needed for your channel. Next one we are bringing up is the Cruisy Ways Jays. This looks to be a Pokemon channel, 3,000 subscribers. Let's have initial impressions here on the thumbnails that we have.
First off, congratulations on 3,000 subscribers. Yep. That's awesome.
Especially in a very competitive Pokemon market.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Everyone, everyone plays and has done these type of channels, so they're very difficult. My biggest initial thought here is very simple. This, like each one of these thumbnails, looks like it could possibly be on another channel. So this is where I would say the consistency effort would actually really help you have people understand who your channel is. Another thing, if you're on camera with all these videos, you might even want to put your face in the bottom left-hand side.
Yeah. And
then have a consistent color. And then have you're doing a phenomenal job with the rainbow vomit and, the contrast. Actually, these thumbnails for this genre are phenomenal. So the only thing I would say is try to have the elements a little larger so people can see like the Pokemon and the various characters a little better. And then have some type of consistent color so that people know they're looking at the official.
Yeah, just a quick look at. So we do have some thumbnails here where you have got your face in there. So like, I don't know if that was a face reveal or just like a general channel update. But yeah, as you say, Jeremy, some of them are really striking. But again, sometimes I'm seeing that maybe the story's lost a little bit, like crime legalized behind the scenes, and the text is covering up the objects here of Pokemon, and I can't quite connect maybe the two elements there of what legalizing drugs possibly in Pokemon. That doesn't quite work on that thumbnail, I don't think. But
and in general, I don't think any of the text works on this channel.
Yeah,
not even 1% of it. No offense, I just think that visual storytelling for this type of content might actually be a better result.
Yeah, for example, then for this channel, what would you say is the maximum number of words you would potentially use? Because I think in each of these thumbnails, it's at least 4 or more, and referencing the channel name a lot in the thumbnails.
I would say you're gonna have to use a font that's more readable.
Yep.
And more bold, and you could go up to probably 3 to 4 words easily. But at this particular font style and the fonts that you're using, also use one font. Just use one font so that people can recognize your consistent thumbnails. But I would you can still have a crazy weird font. Just make sure it's very bold and very readable.
Okay, so that's the Cruisy Ways, Jay. Thank you for volunteering your channel. Next up, we have 6 in the Mix, 1,000 subscribers, a family vlog. Immediately what strikes me here is that this is a very plain, generic, stock background banner, which then doesn't really connect at all with the thumbnail. So I think there's a lot that we can look through here and offer suggestions on.
Yeah, and for family vlogs, in my opinion, the best thumbnails in the world are daily bumps. I really suggest you guys go study daily bumps. Their banners and their thumbnails are amazing. Now, I will say there are some great elements in these thumbnails. The emojis, the celebrations, some of the text, the thought bubbles. There's some really, really, really great things in these thumbnails. What I would recommend on the banner, have your family picture there with like a colorful background.
Yeah, we can see that in the channel profile picture that the family is there. And I'll quickly, you mentioned daily bumps. If I just bring that very briefly in there as a comparison.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what we have.
So the banner, just look at that. I mean, there's excitement, there's color, there's just, people want to love this family just from the banner alone.
So that should be your target. With a lot of refinement and experimentation, we're not expecting for you to get there tomorrow, but here's where you currently are, and this is where we can make improvements for you.
Absolutely. And I would just go back to these 10 principles we talked about before. Have consistency. Try to pop the backgrounds out from the characters. And like this, you made unicorn what? That thumbnail is near perfect.
Which one was that? Sorry. Oh, this one here.
You
yes,
made
there
unicorn
we are.
what?
That's a really good example of a thumbnail, isn't it? And we always want to stress, like, the channel creator might be looking at this and saying, yeah, but it only got 62 views, and we must stress that, on an individual basis, videos may not perform well for whatever reason, but if you're consistently putting that much time and effort into your thumbnails over a period of time, you should start to see the returns on the effort that you're putting in.
Also, don't forget this philosophy and concept of when your thumbnails all have a consistent pattern, they're going to actually stand out more on the right-hand side. So you're going to have this. If you had 1,000 videos and they're all similar, you're going to have this power concept that may not happen now. Would have that, had 120 views instead? Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So to summarize, redraft your channel banner and aim for this type of thumbnail going forward, we would suggest. All right. Next up, we have... bringing into screen is BDB Entertainment. Okay, then what do we think of this one?
Honestly, I think these are great. The only thing I would say is instead of having 5 or 6 different design colors, have the consistency even across games. And a lot of people don't agree with me on this. However, if you're playing a lot of different games, then you are the brand. The games aren't the brand. You are the brand. You're the person behind the games. So try to brand yourself a little more. If you're on screen, I would actually put your face on the thumbnails if you can, and then go with one color. Just go with one color. Doesn't matter how many different games you're playing, or if it's a vlog, or if it's this or that. And you're just going to stand out more. Honestly, even though these are phenomenal thumbnails, I would not know that the green one was associated with the blue channel on the right side.
Also, another thought just generally is how often the channel is switching from one game to another. We've got Call of Duty 2 weeks ago, Guardians of the Galaxy a week ago, Fortnite. So in the last 2 weeks, we've got very disparate channel content. I know we're not necessarily talking about what the content of your channel should be, but as you were saying, Jeremy, if a casual viewer is seeing one thumbnail one week and then one the next, are you entirely sure that this channel, it's all coming from the same channel?
Yeah, and focusing in on one game is actually really dangerous as well, because when I just did an audit last week with a channel that was just killing it on one game for like 4 years, and then that game started dying off when Fortnite got really big. Well, Fortnite's been big for a while. And now they're like, okay, what do we do to get more views? And I went into Google Trends for YouTube, and I showed that there is 15%, there's 75% less traffic today on these terms on YouTube than there was a year ago. So I was like, get another game. you know, so there are switch offs, but if you don't niche down in gaming, you'll never make it.
And that cycles back to our very first point, isn't it? That you at the end of the gaming day, you are the star, the personality, and the brand. And if you are strong enough in that core part of your channel, your audience will follow you, whatever game you're playing, as long as it's still kind of relevant. Like you're moving from Fortnite to maybe Call of Duty. Does
PewDiePie even play games anymore?
Well, exactly, yeah, PewDiePie. I mean, we're not all...
He's the personality. It's nothing to do with the game. Yeah,
we're not all suggesting that you're going to get 70 million subscribers by becoming the personality, but yeah, he definitely started out as a gaming channel, but the strength of his personality has carried him since then. Okay, so hopefully BDB Entertainment... Well, we'll also say that. I always want to think that we've made some criticisms about the channel, but this channel has 73 subscribers at the moment. And the quality of the thumbnails, in terms of how much time and effort you're clearly putting into these thumbnails, is already pretty phenomenal. So
yeah, they're great. I mean, they're better than most gaming thumbnails we see.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, I think, is another gaming channel, and this one is Razorfish Gaming. Bigger channel this time, 63,000 subscribers. Congratulations to you, especially in the gaming world, which is so difficult to break into. What do we think here of, first of all, a very red banner, followed by very yellow thumbnails?
Yeah, obviously I'm going to be a stickler for consistency, but I actually like these thumbnails a lot. Now, one thing you have to remember is, what is their audience? Like what age, right? I'm guessing with tractors and stuff like this, I'm guessing the age. I know I have an 8-year-old daughter that loves Roblox, absolutely loves it. So I'm guessing one thing you have to remember is know your audience.
Yeah.
If your audience is 6-year-olds, then these thumbnails may not be bad at all, honestly. And if they're on a tablet, they may be a little larger than you see them on your phone, for example. And they may be okay. I'm not a big fan of the yellow, but it does stand out, and I can actually read all the text.
Yeah.
I think in some cases the text is too much, but at the same time, there's a pattern: the yellow text and cars. The cars are great because they are popping out with a glow. Again, this is not my jam visually, but if I was a 6-year-old, I might just absolutely love this. And, so test other colors and test other things. But all in all, besides making the cars a little bigger, I think you're doing a great job.
I would say as well, just look at the thumbnails as what the story that it's telling. It's not just a screenshot of a video game. The video creators clearly cut out these images and made them a lot bigger on screen, giving them glow effects. And there's usually, 1 or 2 objects per thumbnail. Like this one here, tractor update. It could be very easy there just to put a relatively small picture of a tractor in a field. But in this example, it's the focus of the thumbnail is this tractor. It's zoomed up. There's a glow effect around it. There's arrows pointing to it. It's like, it's almost... It is saying, look at this on screen, and this is what you're going to find out about in the content itself. And just one more thing, this channel is pumping out a lot of videos. There must be, I'd say, 2 or 3 videos a day for your channel. So it's clear that you are certainly niching down and focusing on this particular game and putting in as much time and effort as humanly possible there for that one. Any more thoughts, Jeremy, just while I search for another channel to bring up?
I mean, you may want to experiment with other designs to see if the impressions and views are better. But I think you're probably have done this enough to where you know what's working, and just keep on. You know, one thing I don't think I've mentioned yet is try to get 1% better every week.
Yeah, great advice. Fantastic advice. That's certainly something that, again, if you go back to vidIQ thumbnails, that's something I've certainly been trying to do. Whether it be the changing the color of a background or sharpening the image or doing a little warp effect on the YouTube icons in the background, sort of like a subtle reference point. Yeah, absolutely. Next channel then we are going to look at here. We're flying through the channels here. I hope you're enjoying this sort of new quick rapid fire way of doing channel audits, focusing on one thing. And now we're looking at hyped films, hashtag explore everything. So one of these channels which certainly has a lot of strength when it comes to, I guess, videography. Is that reflected in the thumbnails though? I
think I love the banner. The banner makes me feel like I'm in a film.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just got that surreal look that puts me in my creative mindset. I love film and I love videography and photography. And this banner puts me in that place. I love it. Then I scroll down to the thumbnails and I just don't get that same feeling.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I get that this seems to be like an eerie, you know, graveyard style channel. So I get that there is a feel and a look and feel that you're going to need to you know, maintain to get people to know, hey, these are creepy videos. So I get that. I wonder if there's a way to do it where the text is bigger and it's even more dramatic.
Yeah.
So, for example, on the "he nearly died," you know, I love the emoji. I think that's awesome. I even wonder if the emoji should be like 30% bigger.
Yeah.
And then I wonder in this particular case if you couldn't have found like a more extreme version of the person or the situation zoomed in more, even if it was like an illustration.
Yeah, we can't tell. I can't really tell what's going on there at all. It's just an arrow pointing to a head, and I don't see like maybe a dangerous object or anything. As you say, this is where
this is where storytelling really comes into play. So like if he almost got hit by a car, we should see a car, and the shape of a body, and you know what I mean, like, and just like excitement. And this is where the story for me is kind of breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
The concept's good. I would make the text bigger, but I think you spend a little more time on telling these stories, and I think you'll get a lot more clicks.
Yeah. One more thing I would also say is that the channel banner is probably best represented in this first thumbnail. And that is a really striking, effective thumbnail. But then obviously it looks as if your direction on the channel changed significantly, and it's not really reflected, at least in the channel banner. So certainly some several considerations there on that one. So that's hyped channel. Next up we have Halloween Charlie, 214 subscribers on your videos so far. What do we have here then? So lots of facial reactions, certainly a lot of effort going into.
I will say this is a phenomenal example for the last channel we just
there we are. So
to make it creepy with more just like faces and expressions.
Yep.
So I think from a facial perspective and the YouTube face, I think this is probably one of the best channels we've seen today as far as thumbnails go. Love the size of the face, the whites of the eyes, the expressions, absolutely amazing. The only thing I would really recommend is trying to find a pattern of color or something so that people know, you know, hey, this is your type of video.
Yeah.
But absolutely love the faces, love the creepiness. There's obviously some thumbnails that aren't like the rest. I would try to make them all with you reacting in a creepy way. But good job. These are great.
And yeah, I was just seeing a couple where maybe if you were to pick these thumbnails out, like this Android's one, He Won't Let Us Go, Breaking Out for Good, those thumbnails do not have the person in the thumbnail. So would you be able to necessarily attach them to this channel immediately? Not necessarily, but I think, yeah, for the number of videos that you've done, there's already a really strong emotional storytelling element being shown in these videos. What about the channel banner? I think it looks a little bit busy and confusing. There's many different game characters there. And does Halloween Charlie really pigeonhole you into a horror channel? And how does that reach out to an audience in the middle of summer?
Believe it or not, horror and Halloween and scary and storytelling, this is a huge part of YouTube. It is a subculture that is insanely large. So I think it's okay, but I do think that the banner does not match at all your thumbnails. I would actually put you up there as the main character and then have weird creepiness behind you. I would also pick one of the three things you have listed. You could have horror games and horror vlogs and horror, you know what I mean? Like, but with almost 500 hours uploaded to YouTube every minute, find that niche, focus, and go attack, you know, but you can't do everything very well.
Yeah, and one more thing to add, Charlie, you have perfected the mouth wide open, shocked look there. As a video creator myself who has to do these poses in front of camera, I can imagine how long you spent to perfect that. It's a weird YouTube art that you only get familiar with if you're doing it. All right,
so I give it a 9.5.
9.5. There we go. Next up, we have, and I'm seeing in the chat here that I think Orly C may have actually had a channel audit at VidCon. A specific channel audit. I don't personally remember you, but I'm sure whether it was Leron, Jeremy, or Rob doing this channel audit for you there. We're going to give you some more extra tips here. I don't know if you've been able to put anything into practice in the 2 weeks since VidCon, but this channel is Mummy Makeup and Media, 3,500 subscribers. Definitely a purple pink theme going on here in the channel banner and thumbnails with icons as such. I mean, I'll jump in first, Jeremy, and say, again, do we want to see the personality in the channel banner and in all the thumbnails? It's kind of like you maybe deciding whether or not to include yourself in these thumbnails.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, it's nice seeing a pattern.
Yep.
You guys, I'm sure now can see why it's so important. Personally, I would love to see your face pretty large, like the third one from the top, the live what swag did I get at VidCon. So, you know, you got the YouTube face, you got your face really big, you can see the whites of your eyes, and then cut yourself out of the background, have that awesome purple background, and I think you're really on to something here. I personally think you just stay purple or one color for all your new videos.
Look at how the evolution has gone on here. For 4 months ago, it's there's a little bit of pink here and there. Obviously, you've watched a video on thumbnails, and so yeah, about a month ago, you clearly decided on a branding and a theme, and now we can see that a lot more strongly in your content.
Your next evolution are 3 items: make your fonts and text bigger, or take them off completely. Make all of the elements larger, like your face, the plate, the baby, and you're golden. You're there.
Awesome. So that is all you see with your second vidIQ audit in a month. I hope you found that second one useful. And now we're going to move on to somebody who I think Jeremy might be a little bit familiar with, and he may appear in some of these thumbnails. This is Geezer Skates. Channel with 200, if I've said that right, it's 240 subscribers. So a small channel, but look at these thumbnails. Did they have any perhaps influence from yourself, Jeremy, here? Because they look fantastic.
Yeah, they definitely did. And if you look at the fourth one from the top, that's me flying through the air there.
There we are.
I am an old skateboarder. So yeah, a lot of, obviously you can see that my principles there, a lot of philosophies. There's a consistency with the logo and colors.
It's from 2 weeks ago, really, where the change has really been quite distinct.
Yep. So faces, big, smiling, got the emotional engagement there. So yeah, you can see the last 4 or 5 videos have really just got a new direction. And Rob, you tell me how can they make these better?
So I think maybe the text could possibly do with being with a little bigger in some, potentially.
I would say bolder too, because right now it's not. It's really like thin. It's hard to read from this angle.
Bolder too, yeah. I mean, there's 2 examples here where we've got a yellow background, and then others where it's not so much of a yellow background. And the logo, I think, is really strong in these 2 videos with yourself and Geezers Love Skateboarding, and then there's some tweaks going on here, and I'm not sure if it looks as powerful there. So consistency in the patterns maybe would help. And I don't know, it should be like on your particular thumbnail, there's a picture of you and then an action picture as well, which is clearly viewable. And then in the next couple, it's more blurred out, and I'm not sure which tells a better story there. What would be your thoughts on that?
As a skateboarder, I want to see skateboarding.
You want to see some action there, yeah.
Yeah, I would rather even in this case, like food, and there's all kinds of cases where maybe you don't show a face all the time. In this case, I want to see ramps and wheels, and I want to see movement and hair flowing back. I want to see skateboarding.
Yeah. All right, so some great work there, and obviously with the help of Jeremy Vester, the thumbnails there have improved phenomenally. Next up, we are looking at Mystic 9. Okay, this is going to be one of his weird usernames that I completely butcher. I'm a Flynn Giant. Stay connected. This channel has 100 subscribers. Congratulations for breaking 100 subscribers. Let's have a look at these thumbnails then. What can we say about this?
Yeah, congrats, 100 subs. That's awesome. Now you can change your URL. It's very, very cool. So go down to the second row, the last one, the second to the last one, the Fortnite.
Yeah.
What happened there? How does it go from the rest of these thumbnails to that?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Now, the only thing I think about is I see so many gaming channels like this, and I'm wondering if that was just a thumbnail that was able to it was just a Google search potentially, because it doesn't really connect to a particular channel. As you can see, it's got some purple bordering around it, so that may be a template thumbnail. But yeah, absolutely.
Let's look at that. That thumbnail is almost perfect.
Yeah,
it's got the rainbow vomit colors. It's got the phenomenal text that's very like creative. It looks like Fortnite. It's very bold. You have action. The only thing I would say is the whatever's in the blue bar, number 1 history row or whatever it is. I can't read that part, but I'm old. But that thumbnail is pretty much, I would give it a 9.7. So if you were me, or if I were you rather, I would focus on trying to make a consistent, colorful background, great text like that, bold and big, action shot. Don't ever share your screen again unless it's just on the background. And then you have like a face or something in the foreground, because it's Fortnite. This looks like everyone's screen in America right now, or 90% of the kids, right? So I think you're obviously doing well. You got 100 subs. Keep it up, and we'd love to see what you come up with in the next few weeks.
And one more thing I would just add as well is that your titles don't really do anything to support the thumbnails that you might have, because it's exactly the same title every single time. You're just changing the episode number. I think viewers get very bored very quickly of just seeing the same thing over and over again. So there needs to be a story behind each of these live streams and thumbnails. So something to maybe think about there, Mystic 9. And again, consistency-wise, we've got a picture of Clash Royale character in your profile, and the banner as well. Like, how does the banner reflect your content? So certainly a lot of things to look at, and as Jeremy said there, there are a couple of examples, like even this one, which is a channel update. That's a custom thumbnail that we can see there, where some time has been put into it. So Yeah, less screenshots, more dedicated thumbnails there. The next one now, Jeremy, I think this is an absolutely fantastic one and a good example of a channel that's really focused on the branding before the channel gets big. Is this one here, which is JCTV Family Vlog, Inspire the World. And we were talking earlier about, I think it was In the Mix, which was a family vlog, but it didn't have their family in the channel banner. Right. But this one does. A channel with 2,500 subscribers, and I'm already thinking that this feels like a channel that has tens of thousands of subscribers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, just on the branding and the consistency alone.
You know what? I love this.
Yeah.
This, I feel the excitement in this family. They seem like a fun family. You're right. If you told me this had 100,000 subscribers, I would not even be shocked. 1%. It wouldn't even raise my eyebrow. I'd be like, yeah, they look like a fun family. The consistency of the thumbnails, the excitement, guys, you're kicking butt. Very, very good job. Two small criticisms. The green
constructive feedback. Let's go with constructive feedback.
Thank you. Two constructive feedback pieces. The red and green together remind me of Christmas. If you guys are into Christmas, that's cool. But you have the green theme and the red thumbnail next to each other. It just looks Christmassy to me. And then consistency of text.
Yeah.
Sometimes the text is decent. Sometimes it's not. I would stay with the same font and just get more consistent and more bold. But other than that, the small things we talked about before, a little more contrast, a little sharper, try to make the faces a little bigger when possible. These thumbnails are absolutely amazing, though. What's
your attitude to arrow pointing? I sometimes use it on my channel or on vidIQ. Is there any general tips for doing that?
I think on challenge videos and videos where you kind of need to see something, I think it really does add a level of intrigue if it's done right. So, World Guinness record videos and things that you have to kind of think about. I think that, for example, I saw one where it's like this girl taking a selfie at the beach and there's an arrow of a shark fin right behind her. Yeah. That worked really, really well because without an arrow, no one would have seen that shark fin. So I think if you can draw to getting someone to see the whole picture and have intrigue, I think arrows are phenomenal. But just using them kind of willy-nilly, I think it's a bad idea.
And just before we move on again, I want to go back to the channel banner for a second. We talk about value propositions, and I think this has a really strong value proposition. Inspire the world, let nothing hold you back. And as you say, the energy and enthusiasm in the family here really is strong in that banner. So people looking for an example of a channel banner, I know again that's not really the exact focus here, but it is still a design element of a channel. I think that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, well done, guys. Keep on going. You guys are a channel with 100,000 subs. We can feel it. We know what's going to happen. Keep on going.
Yeah, you can't see this, but we're doing big thumbs up behind the webcams here. Okay, next channel is, this person has had a little channel audit before, but Pegasus Angel, I always see you in the live streams all the time, and the feedback and contribution to the vidIQ community is awesome. So I thought I'd allow me to step back this time and let the professional thumbnail expert here have a look at your thumbnails. But already I can see when the last time I gave you a channel audit was around about here, where you did have some design elements already in place, and then as I scroll up again, there's some subtle improvements there. But what else could we work on here, Jeremy?
So I love this channel, and I love how fun and silly you are. For those of you looking at this that are like, oh, the Photoshop could be better, well, hold on a minute. Don't you think it almost purposely being like cut out kind of roughly is going to make them stand out from the competitors? The colors and the textures of the backgrounds, it is just in your face. I mean, for good or bad, these thumbnails, I guarantee you, are probably working pretty well. A couple of things I would try for a while is I would try to use the exact same background for a month or two and try to make your face bigger and higher quality. I would actually take like a still image of your face and with doing the YouTuber face and just try to have a better quality image to start with and then make it bigger.
So we can see the reaction, but not necessarily, as you say, the whites of their eyes. We can't seem to Pegasus Angel gameplay's soul.
Exactly. So we want to see a higher quality image with the YouTuber face like you have now, and keep a consistency of the background. And the only other thing I would say is just make the text bigger, and or also have the fonts a little less creative so that people can read them. Just make the text more readable.
All right, so there you are, a second specific thumbnail audit for you there, Pegasus Angel Gaming, and good luck with the rest of your YouTube adventure. Next channel we have is Waiting to Win. This channel has 430 subscribers. Wow, not that many videos so far, so you've welcome to YouTube, I guess I would start with. Your channel is only a month old in terms of content, already 400 subscribers. That's awesome progress in such a short space of time. Tell her, what do you think of this one, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll say congratulations on a lot of things. Weight loss, starting your channel, 400 subscribers in a month is amazing. You'll be at 1,000 subs in no time. Big congratulations and keep on going. For the banner, I would actually have like a wide image that, instead of portrait, like a landscape image with you doing something, whether you're running or honestly a before and after on the banner, I think would be really important. The last image, the weight loss journey begins, let's journey together. Yeah. The only thing I would say there is I would actually have two images, 50% wide, both images 50% wide, and one before and one after. Or if it's just, you're just getting started, then maybe you just have one image or I'm sorry, two different perspectives. So like the side and front profile or something. Yeah. Because right now with a 3, it's just too small to really see details. And then the image before that, the Waiting to Win, I think it's too much text. It's not very readable.
One thing I would also point out as well is a small tip for all YouTubers. Don't put any text or anything of importance in the bottom right-hand corner because the time index will always remove that. So just a small thing there. You've done it on the first 2 video thumbnails, but after that, it's all fine.
Yeah, definitely. Try to avoid using the bottom right-hand corner when possible. All in all, get yourself bigger on screen so we can see the whites of your eyes. Try to use a visual element of what you're doing, whether it's a smoothie. Make the smoothie like 70%, 60% of the entire thumbnail. Only use 2 or 3 words. Make those words way bigger, way less text. Yeah. And we want to see you in your journey. Yeah. So we want your face to be 70 to 80% of the height of the video. And this really is your journey. It's about you. So make sure that we can see the whites of your eyes.
Yeah, I think this is a good example here of where the text from a title is just repeated in the thumbnail. And you could easily remove 70% of that text, or maybe even turn the have a graphic of like a tonnage block with 45 written on it and a down arrow, just as a more visually appealing way of perhaps telling that story. And as you said, Jeremy, bringing the person themselves into much more clearer focus, and again seeing more of a facial reaction there.
Yeah, and the more creative you get on these, like for example, a picture on the left-hand side with you with the YouTube face, and we can see the whites of your eyes. On the right-hand side, there's a scale, and it just says -45 or something, you know, really up close and really big. The more creative, the better in these particular situations.
So there you are, waiting to win. Congratulations on early success on YouTube. And as Jeremy says, 1,000 subscribers by the end of summer, and a journey there for I'm sure many people will appreciate watching from you. Next up, we have, again, this channel contributes a lot to vidIQ on videos, just posting great content. And this, for me, is the most accurate reflection of the content that it covers. Like, a question to all of you watching now: what do you think this channel is about? I think it's fairly obvious just from the color theme. What do you think, Jeremy?
Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely Snapchat. You know, I feel either like I'm about to read a Books for Dummies or Snapchat.
Yeah.
So I love it. Great. By the way, the text is creative, but it's readable.
Yeah.
So you can have, you know, creative, thick fonts, but it just needs to be readable. So well done. I love it. I really don't have a lot of criticisms here. Can you scroll down just a little bit?
Sure. Oh yeah. So again, look at the evolution again already in the thumbnails from the bottom ones to the
it's well done. I think, you know, some of your elements like the snip and trim, and you know, maybe there's some things that can be a little bigger here and there, but the camera roll crop tool, perfect. Obviously your face isn't in there. I would experiment with having your face in these instead of having the illustrations of your face with the same design with the yellow background, but just actually using you instead of an illustration, and see if your impressions of views get bigger. Because my fear is people may actually think this is a game.
Okay.
Or a cartoon or a kid's thing if we're not using your face.
Right. One more question I would ask as well. This is clearly an educational how-to channel. Do you think the payoff on the thumbnails is strong enough? Like, for example, this camera roll crop and tool one is very effective as an icon, but maybe some of these might do better with some final images from Snapchat itself. I'm just wondering what your thoughts there might be. Yeah,
like deleting chat in Snapchat. You can see that there's actual
like a screenshot
image
there,
from Snap. Yeah. So, and then we've got the old Snapchat style back. So I think honestly that we've got the old Snapchat style back where you see a screenshot and you see him really excited is probably my favorite thumbnail so far. The only thing I would say is I'd like to see the screenshot about 70% bigger to where I see a specific thing on the screen.
All right, so there you are, Snap This. The one thing I would also say is I hope you have a future in Snapchat, just as a social media platform that's been under a lot of scrutiny over the last year. I hope there is a future there for you, and whether you have to pivot or not in the future, but in terms of the video content and the branding, that all looks absolutely phenomenal. And we've now got another regular visitor to vidIQ here who's had a channel audit before, and I've seen you on Daryl Lee's videos and Tim Schmoyer's, and another one where the branding and the thumbnails is super strong here. It's Dr. Let me get his pronunciation right, Dr. Sten Ekberg, health and longevity, thumbnails here with certainly you in prominent in the thumbnails. We can see the whites of your eyes and occasional action shots. Strong branding throughout. Anything we could add here, Jeremy, to this channel? Again, it's another one where it's like only has 2,000 subscribers, but the video, the branding looks phenomenal.
Yeah, this is another one. Is if he had 150,000 subscribers, I wouldn't even be phased, because, and I've done a little work on or gave him some feedback in the past. So very well done. Man boobs. That's all I'm going to say. That thumbnail is amazing for a lot of different reasons. But the biggest is doctor is on screen pointing. The text is very readable. The topic is weird and silly and whatever. Yeah. But apparently it's a thing people struggle with. So he was able to make it. And I mean, people are going to click on that. Just like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
So I think like hand tremors is a great, he even visually shows the hand moving.
Yeah.
talking about visual
Nice little effect.
storytelling, the live replay, having the live button so people know it's live, all about Kato, or however you say that, with the food in the background. Honestly, I just think these are probably the best thumbnails we've seen today.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say there's nothing wrong with the thumbnail of the channel. It's just, I guess, maybe trying to find those breakthrough videos within the content itself. Maybe it's optimizing the metadata, or just finding that video really lands with an audience that's out there. All right, so there we are. I'm just looking at my screen now, and I have like 15 tabs open of all the YouTube channels that we've been looking at today. We have been going through a fantastic number of thumbnails there for your channels, and I hope you found that really useful. Just bringing Jeremy back into screen now for the side-on image there. There he is. Hello, Jeremy. Now, I was just wondering, we've had a phenomenal little session here. I was just wondering if we've got time to maybe take a bit of Q&A, because I think the Doberman now is giving me as many channels as he possibly can today. So if there's any general questions you have about thumbnails or anything else to do generally with your channel audits, we're going to hang around for a few more minutes and ask questions. But Jeremy, if you were to sum up like the whole audits we've done for thumbnails here, is there any sort of general themes coming out of what we've talked about today?
Yeah, I think consistency is actually more important than we think it is, because on the right-hand side, if you're ranking for several videos and your videos all look like they're from different channels, you have no ability to visually have more weight on the right-hand side. So I think the consistency is really important. I think the power of emotion and expression and eyes and excitement is extremely important. And also the reality of getting better at photo editing or hiring someone to do it for you is important. It's a skill that you're going to have to develop if you want to be successful on YouTube. In fact, it's so important. The new YouTube analytics, one of the biggest tools in there is impressions to view. So they are sending people your thumbnail and X amount of people click on it. So it's so important that YouTube's building this into their future analytics tools. So it's really important. I think in general, the 10 steps at the beginning of this video, if you want to replay it, really do kind of cover this, the 10 most common mistakes we see here at vidIQ.
Did you notice there that the subtle way we're going to get more watch time out of this live stream is to go back to the beginning and watch that first 10 minutes to get all of those tips, and then watch the live stream again so you can see how we've implemented them all. Okay, some questions coming in then. Gamer Passion FR said, what would be the best tools for thumbnail? Like the staple answer is Photoshop, but maybe that's too daunting for people. So are there any like free alternatives?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about free. I think GIMP is a free photo editing program. You want to check that out. Believe it or not, there's some amazing photo editing apps on a phone or a tablet that tend to be a lot easier. Adobe even makes a few of these, or at least one of them. And Canva, I've heard so many amazing things about Canva.
Hundreds of pre-made templates in Canva which can really help you if you don't have design skills to begin with. Yeah, and there's a few people mentioning Canva as well. A question did come in, but I'm not sure who asked it. It was, should I add glow effects to myself when I'm in the thumbnails? Or I guess anything that manipulates you outside of sharpening and saturation?
That's really a question. So the basic design principles are emphasis, contrast, flow, alignment, balance, and repetition. So that's kind of like the fundamentals of design philosophy. So it really depends on you and the background and the effects you're going for. If you're a celebrity musician, maybe having a glow, if there's fire behind you, makes sense. You just have to make it makes visual sense. And if you just think about it from that perspective, is the story told? One of the things that most of us do when we go learn something like Canva or Photoshop or GIMP is we get crazy with effects. And my design teacher back a million years ago when I was in college basically said, if it helps, add it. If it doesn't improve the scene or the design, don't.
Yeah, so don't clutter the image for fancy graphics sake. A question now from JCT Family Vlogs, who we have looked at today, is: you mentioned that the red and green looks like Christmas. The red are for vlogs, the greens are for challenges, and show up in the playlist, the different playlists that they have. So should they just be the same? So I think that's a general question about whether you should have different coloured themes for different topics on your videos, or should there be a consistency of pattern for your channel as a whole?
So in the case of this thumbnail, because you had like a 15% slant on them, I could tell they were your thumbnails even if they were green and red. So in this particular case, I'm okay with it. We did for a one of the biggest beauty brands in the world, they had to put some Spanish videos on their English channel. They just had to. Not best practices, but they had to. So we made those green and everything else blue. And it worked out for us because the theme and design was the same, but those two colors really did let people know it was in English or Spanish. So I do think in particular cases, and because your design is so unique, I'm okay with the different colors. Ultimately, I think having the same look and feel, same colors, is going to give you more real estate on the right-hand side and more visual authority on the right-hand side. So my default would be the more you're the same on the right-hand side, the more you're going to win.
Next question here, and this is an open question to the whole of the vidIQ community here on the live stream at the moment, is how long do you spend on a thumbnail? Now, I'll answer that first. Generally, I tend to spend about 30 to 60 minutes on each thumbnail at vidIQ. The one thing I always have to do is try and get just the right facial reaction for whatever it is I'm covering, and then I have to think about maybe one or two objects that they're going to reflect or tell the story of the videos. Now, I've been doing a lot of work on adding various elements that I may be able to use in the future. Like I was learning how to warp text for actually this live stream, so that you may have noticed that the thumbnail text is a little warped on this one to fit the shape. So as Jeremy said in previously, improving 1% of your thumbnail every single time. And so generally speaking, it takes about 30 to 60 minutes, but I'd love to know your thoughts. I mean, Jeremy, you have your own channel that you work on in your spare time. How long and I've seen you changing your thumbnails on a regular basis, like each week, thinking about how I can make my thumbnails more effective. Like, how long do you tend to spend?
Well, I used to be an art director, so I have an unfair advantage. But I would say after the theme is set for a channel, it would not take more than 15 minutes.
Okay.
To cut yourself out of Photoshop, color correct, go find some stock photography or video or whatever.
Yeah.
Find some things that visually represent your video and add them to your template. Now, having said that, it might take you 20 hours to set your template.
Yeah, so we're talking about the core elements and design that we talked about in the presentation today. That could take hours. Then setting the story of each one could take 15 minutes.
And yesterday I redid like 10 at night, I redid every one. I have like a new series of 5 or 6 videos. I redid all of them in 1 hour. And the reason for that is because I have a theme and I already had the images cut out, and I got some advice from my thumbnail whisperer and made all new thumbnails. And it doesn't take as long as you think once you get a flow going. Yeah.
All right. I'm just imagining Jeremy at 10:30 in the evening in his studio, and he's hearing voices in his head, and just going to Photoshop and making the changes there. But as you said yourself, you are a nerd about thumbnails, and it's really something that you're passionate about. And hopefully we've helped dozens of you, if not the hundreds of you who have been on the live stream today. Thank you very much for joining us on what I say was a slightly revamped attempt here at the channel audit live streams. If you respond to it very positively, we'll look at a topic next week. Maybe it'll be titles, maybe it'll be playlists, maybe value propositions, and it'd be awesome if you could join us for that live stream. If you did enjoy this live stream, do make sure to give it a like and subscribe. I'm just going to move my head and point at the subscribe pillar right there, and share this with any like-minded video creators who may find this useful. It just leaves me to say, Jeremy, it's been an absolute privilege to have you on, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And guys, let us know how we did in this show. We really want to make this better for you every week. Yeah, thank you.
And we were actually testing this like 24 hours ago, making sure that all the technical aspects worked quite right. Like the voice wasn't working for one, and Jeremy has been playing around with his camera, making sure the focus is right. Like I've had several very strong close-ups of his facial hair just to make sure that we could see each individual hair there, and it seems to have worked out pretty well. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll leave it with my usual catchphrase. I'm not sure if Jeremy can remember this, so we had terrible attempts trying to get this right in Spain, but it is, enjoy the rest of your video making day. Jeremy's staying silent there, and we'll see you next week. Bye.